October 1916, along the Western Front, where night erased a distance and fog erased sight.
In the trenches, light was rationed. A single lantern meant safety and danger at the same time. He stood, listening. He recognized the uniforms. Boots were often left behind, sometimes because their owners didn't need them anymore, sometimes because no one could retrieve the bodies.
This is not a ghost story. This is what soldiers wrote when they believed no one would ever read it. The Battle of the Somme, northern France. Northern France. A line on a map that consumed over 1 million lives.
After the artillery stopped, the battlefield looked abandoned. It never was.
Barbed wire stretched across no man's land, catching bodies, uniforms, and sometimes voices. Many dead were never buried. They stayed where they fell, covered and forgotten. Soldiers learned not to look at faces. Recognition made things harder. Diet was precarious. Rats fed freely. Mud swallowed everything, and sleep came only in fragments. When night arrived, imagination became as dangerous as the enemy.
This is where history stops, and one man begins to listen.
Private Thomas Ellis was alone on sentry duty. His platoon had been wiped out hours earlier. He stood listening, not for gunfire, but for movement. Over the parapet, no man's land disappeared into fog. Distance meant nothing here. Then came the sound. Slow, measured, like boots in formation. Shapes emerged in the mist. Uniforms Alice recognized instantly. Faces never became clear. The fog refused to reveal them. He stood, listening. He recognized the uniforms. When the sound stopped, the trench felt heavier than before. Ellis wrote later, "I knew every man I saw, and I knew they were dead." Winter came, and for a moment, the war seemed to hesitate. Similar entries appeared elsewhere, in different handwriting, different regiments, same descriptions. One night, German machine guns opened fire, not at soldiers, but at something moving between the lines. Witnesses elsewhere also describe shapes. They are not charging, not retreating, simply crossing. Entire trenches reported hearing footsteps. No one admitted it first. Reports increased after heavy shelling. After gas attacks. After nights without sleep. pattern was impossible to ignore. It kept returning.
By December, the ground itself seemed to wait.
December 25th, 1916. Dawn arrived quietly. The Christmas truce is real history. Enemies met in the open. For a few hours, the war paused. Later, some soldiers wrote about figures in the fog, watching, silent. When the sun rose fully, the field was empty again.
Letters home softened the details.
They made the war sound smaller.
But the diaries did not.
They kept what the mind couldn't. Those pages were never meant to be shared. But they survived, the men who wrote them. The war did not stop. It only waited. On July 1st, the Somme offensive began. Tens of thousands fell in a single day. Survivors later described marching lines. Not men, not ghosts, something in between memory and shock. One officer wrote, "They're always behind us now." The trenches eventually collapsed. The war moved on.
But the ground remembers pressure and sound.
These photographs show young men resting. They never show what followed them home. Farmers later reported hearing footsteps where no roads exist. Slow, heavy marching. More recorded accounts exist.